Hey, everyone. Am I live? Oh, I'm live. Kate, we are in day 5, guys, of our 7-day series of the myths that most of us successful, ambitious women fall prey to that lead us to burn out. So what we're going to talk about today is good girl syndrome. Okay. And believe me, at no point in my life did I ever consider myself professionally to be a good girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always been pretty fierce. I've always been pretty confident. I've always been pretty ambitious. And so this idea of being a good girl really didn't land on me until I started studying human behavior and studying how we work and like, why are we all slaving for success? And what I saw over and over again with women, even fierce women at the top, is this underlying need to be a good girl. Now, I don't mean it's because we all need to be liked, because I've never felt that way. I've always been like, well, some people are gonna like me, some people aren't. It's never been a big deal for me. I've always felt really confident, even when I had imposter syndrome. If you met Kate, Kate was pretty confident. So where does this good girl syndrome come from? And this is really interesting. And I'm interested to hear from all of you guys in the comments. What are some memories you have of childhood of being asked to be a good girl? Like, for example, my maiden name is Crable. And I remember we went to church every Sunday. And I remember thinking, and I used to say this, Crable girls, we know how to impress. Like, the Crable girls, like, they show up. Like, when we were out, we were kind, we were gracious. My parents could trust us in public. Let's just put it that way. We were always well behaved. We knew how to carry a conversation. We knew how to be elegant. We knew how to be graceful and gracious. And you know what I'm saying? Like, we were just like those kind of girls. Where do you think that came from? That's being a good girl. And here I am going, I've never been a good girl. But it is. It was ingrained in me at a very young age that this is how we behave out in public. Now, I'm not saying, guys, we want to raise our children to be hellions who, like, run through church and pull people's pigtails or whatever public place. Do you know what I'm saying? But it was definitely somehow impressed upon me, whether it was through the media, through my parents, through my schools that I went to, that, Kate, when you are out in public, when you are in front of people, you need to be a good girl. How many, and this is interesting because I've seen that guys don't have this as much. And I'm not saying that guys were taught to be ill-behaved. It's just like, think of the memories you have. Like, do you guys remember, I don't know, maybe it was when you were going to prom. Maybe it was, in the classroom, you were always known for being the kid who was well-behaved. Maybe you were the one who invited everyone to your birthday parties so nobody would be left out. There was messages that were given to you that how you needed to be good. Can you guys put that in the comments? Like, what were those? Like, share some of these memories, because what's going to happen is another one's going to be like, oh, that was me too. And guys don't have this as much. Guys have other issues, believe me, that they're challenged with. It's making them workaholics and overachieve as well. But usually being a good girl or being a good boy is not one of them. Good girl syndrome is huge for us. And I have a perfect example because I had a client ask me something today in our help desk. So we have, our clients can access our team like every day and ask questions as they go through this journey of learning to navigate their work differently and operate differently. And she had this wonderful question, and it was about delegation. Like, her boss is just dumping on her constantly. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. Okay, so she has a boss that just dumps on her. Then she has a team that's already overworked, and it's a brand new department that she's trying to stand up and get going and get functional, against a company vision that is huge, right? The company's like, come on, we've got to get here, we've got to get here, we've got to get here. We've never had this department. So you know what that's like? If you've ever stepped into a job where you're the first one there, everybody needs you because nobody's had you for forever. So everyone's pulling her in 1,000 different places. And she's like, what the heck? And then what comes up? Well, we feel guilty delegating because our team is already overworked. So what do? I'll just do it myself. I could probably get it done quicker than tell someone else to do it. Good girl. What happens when our boss is dumping on us? I don't care, if you are in a management consulting company, you've got 5 partners, you know what that's like, and they all need you, and they all need you today, and it all has to get done like by midnight. Y'all know what that's like if you're in management consulting. This client's not, but you know what I'm saying? Or whatever, you have a boss that's just hyper demanding and they're a workaholic and they're just dumping on you. And so what do? We feel bad about pushing back, about saying no. Good girl, right? And we want to be the ones that get it done. Then you'll be shining and fabulous, right? Okay. What are some other things? I was trying to look at what else. oh yeah, we don't want to, so we don't want to delegate, we feel bad. Or the other thing that can happen is when we delegate, we fear that they're not going to do a good enough job. So we delegate to our team, but we either helicopter the whole time and we're micromanaging them, or we delegate, we walk away, we're like, figure it out, and then they don't, and then you get it, and at the last minute, what are you doing? Staying up till midnight, yelling at your children, yelling at your spouse, kicking your dog, eating, a bag of Doritos or Tostitos and, a bag of M&Ms, because now you're in a dead straight panic that this thing didn't get done correctly that you delegated. Or you just do it yourself to avoid all of that discomfort, because we're good girls. Woo! Okay, so we got to start raising our daughters differently. Can I say this all starts with parenting? But we got to break out of this cycle, guys, because if you're especially if you're late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you have been raised to be a good girl, for sure. And it is going to show up in how you operate in your career. And then what happens? You're in college and you graduate, and it's like, you better get this done. You better perform. You better be good, because that's how you're going to get the promotion. That's how you're going to get more money, which if you're like me, when I graduated college, I was in advertising. Do you know how much advertising pays you when you get out of college? Like nothing. I think my first job offer out of college was like $12,000. It was like, do people live off of that? Like even back then, back in the 90s when I graduated, like $12,000 is not a lot of money. And I think my first job out of college was like $21,000 or $24,000. It was peanuts, guys. Like you can't survive on that. And at that point, I was a single mom. There was no way. So I was like scratching and clawing as fast as I could to get promotions because I needed the money, and for some other reasons, because I'm a driven woman and we have egos and we hear things differently, right? But those are those messages I keep saying, like every girl is hearing good girl. But then again, if you've heard my broadcast all 7 days, what does the high achiever hear? Good girl, all the way to 11. Past 10, like we take it all the way up the Richter scale. Like I'm not even going to be good. I'm going to be the best. And I'm not going to be the best. I'm going to be better than the best. And failure is not an option. And so now what happens is good girl becomes this volcano of, just splurging, whatever, spewing, psychology upstairs that has you operating in a way that's highly ineffective in your career. Okay. So why is it highly ineffective? Does it mean that we don't want to be liked? Nope. Does it mean that we want to be bitches in the china shop? Nope. What it means is that you have to understand how to go through your career being authentic, graceful all you want. I'm all about grace. I think that's fabulous. And being able to handle, though, these situations that come up that are that are untenable. You don't have to be a good girl about it. You just have to know how to communicate through these circumstances. So, for example, when it comes to your team, you have to understand that there's not two options. One option is we delegate to our team who can handle it, but we feel really guilty and horrible that they had to do more work than, whatever. That's just that's not an option. And then the other option is we delegate to our team, but we don't really trust them and we think they're going to drop the ball because they're ineffective. Neither of those things should ever be happening. Do you guys know that? Like ever. So when we have something that comes down from the mountaintop, whatever, the first thing we do is we stop and we evaluate, does that really need to be done now? Given the goals of the company and of your division or your department or your boss, whatever, is it really true that that thing has to be done right now? And then you have to decide whether it is or not. So my first job as a leader is to figure that out. If it doesn't really have to be done right now, then what do? I am going to put up a boundary and I'm going to have a communication or a conversation with whoever gave it to me. And then I don't have to worry about delegating to my team because I've now said, great, we'll get to that, but not now. Great. If you want that done, then something else is going to have to drop. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to make sure that I am shielding and not letting anything come through into my team that isn't really a priority. And I'm also going to make sure I'm not creating this stuff because the other problem high achievers have is we're constantly looking for gaps. So a lot of times we're the boss that constantly dumps because we're like, oh, there's a problem and there's a problem and there's a problem and there's a problem. And we're running around like finding problems and dumping it on our teams. And our teams are like, you suck to work for. Because we're like, oh, did we forget to tell you what the deadlines are or what our real expectations are? So when you have a boss that's doing that, they're just a high achiever, they're a workaholic, whatever it is, and they just don't know how to set up expectations. And what they really need is they need you to set up clear expectations for them. Okay, simple. So the next thing is now you have this team. Well, guess what? If you have not created a culture for your team and you have not given them really, really defined way of behaviors that are like, these are the values of our team. This is how our team behaves. This is how our team gets things done. This is how our team collaborates, communicates, works in silos, doesn't work in silos, blah, blah, blah. Then your team is just like working for you. And they don't really know. There's nothing cohesive. There's no culture. There's nothing there that really helps them understand how to behave. So they're just going to behave however they behave, right? And then you're going to get frustrated because you're going to feel guilty that they're overworking. Well, maybe they're overworking because they're ineffective. Maybe they're overworking because you did give them too much to do. Maybe sometimes we just have to work a little bit harder, and you do need to delegate to them, but you're also going to give them some time off or something on the back end or whatever, right? So it shouldn't be this big guilt-laden thing like, oh my God, I have to give something to my team. But again, because high-achieving women, we don't know this. We don't create culture. We don't understand how to create a great culture among our team. And then we don't know how to help A players really excel and be held accountable for their behaviors. You just got people running amok, and you just hope for the best, and you hope you get a good team. And if you don't, you know what I mean? Then you're stuck doing all the work. So the very first thing you got to do in that situation is you got to learn how to be a good leader, and you got to create a culture among your team. Because when that's in place and some extra work comes down from up high, and it does need to in fact be done, then you're just like, hey guys, you know what? We're going to have to get this done. It's going to need to be done in the next 2 days, the next 2 weeks, or the next 2 months, or whatever. And I'm really relying on you guys. And I know you can do it. I know you can kill it. And I know we'll figure it out. And that's why I'm working with you, because you guys are like aces in the hole. You're amazing. But you've cultivated that culture, right? You've cultivated that culture, and everyone's excited about the mission and working for you. You're a leader worth following, not just someone who passes out assignments like a school teacher, right? Big difference. So a lot of times that missing culture piece is huge. And we work with everyone from senior managers to CEOs. And it's not like CEOs have this figured out either. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no, so another client, she put in a ticket the other day. It was so funny. She's like, there's not a guidebook for this position I'm at. She's like, can you recommend one? And I'm like, no, there should be one. And the reason is, guys, is there's no guidebook for CEOs. There's no guidebook for VPs. There's no guidebook for directors or senior managers or newbies. You really are learning as you go. It's a lot of apprenticing in the business world, is there not? And there's some great books out there. I'm not saying there's not great books that help you think or help you stretch or give you new ideas, but there's not a framework that says this is what you do when you become a manager, and this is what you do when you become a director, and this is what you do when you become a business owner, and this is what you do when you become a whatever executive. So what you have to do is you have to really start. This is why, for me, what was so fundamental and caused such a major quantum leap, let's just say, in my freedom in my career, this is what we teach our clients, is understanding human behavior. Because finally you have like a common denominator from which to make decisions. If not, what happens is you have the culture at this company, and then you have the boss at this company, and then you go to this company and there's a slightly different situation. And you never really get a foundational framework on how to operate in your career, because you're being swayed by all these different cultures and bosses and companies and goals and different types of industries. Does that make sense? But the minute you understand human behavior, it's beautiful, because guess what? We're all human. Doesn't matter how many bosses you work for. Doesn't matter how many companies you work for. Doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur. Doesn't matter if you own your own clinic. It doesn't matter if you're a consultant. Doesn't matter if you work in the corporate world. When you understand human behavior, you can start seeing the patterns in people. You can start seeing the patterns in yourself. And we all are unique snowflakes, guys, but we're not that unique. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we continue to operate in the same ways over and over again because we all kind of want the same things, right? So when you can start to see that, now you know how to influence the workload. Now you know how to influence your environment. Now you know how to influence your team. Now you know how to influence your leadership, your client, whatever it is. So human behavior is kind of like this. It's the framework that we teach, because when you have that insight and that ability, now all of a sudden it's like all this other stuff, the good girl stuff and stuff, goes away, because it's like, oh, I know clearly how to manage that situation, Oh, that's chaotic, got that. Oh, that person's having a crisis, got it. Because it's just human behavior that's creating all this stuff. Now, let's get back to the good girl. So where the good girl comes from, again, is from our past. And what's happening over and over again with women is we are playing not to lose. You guys need to write that down. Write it down. Playing not to lose. We're not playing to win. Guys play to win. We play not to lose. Do you guys understand the difference? So playing to win means you're going to take risks. Playing to win is you're not worried about what the other person thinks. Playing to win is you're comfortable putting up boundaries or saying no, or saying that's not going to work or whatever. Like, you're playing to win. You're playing to get to that next place. A lot of times women, we think we're playing to win, but we're not. We're playing to get someplace, but we're so scared we're going to lose what we have. And we're scared to rock the boat over here. And we better not say that thing because someone might not like us. And we better not speak up because we might be seen as, too aggressive. But we better speak up because we might be seen as too girly. We are constantly playing not to lose instead of playing to win. We don't want to lose our place at the table. We don't want to lose our flexible job that we have. We don't want to lose our work from home status. We don't want to lose our great boss or our great team. We don't want to lose the kick-ass assignments that we're given. We don't want to lose our title. That is what we're doing. And over again, we've worked with hundreds of women. I've talked to thousands of women. What I hear over and over again is fear. Fear is at the base of playing not to lose. And that's good girl, because if you're not a good girl, what are you afraid of? You're a bad girl. If you're not a good girl, and bad girls in our society, that is a bad rap. Like, think of what that conjures up in your mind. Nobody wants to be a bad girl. You know what? But bad boys, they're kind of hot, right? Like, bad boys, yeah. Like, that's like in our society, like, he's a bad boy or he's a good guy. We love good guys. We love bad guys. Do we love bad girls? No, we don't. Do you know what I'm saying? We don't. Just think of it even in our languaging. So there's a lot of fear. I better not be seen as a bad girl. I better not be seen as dropping the ball. I better not be seen as failing. Women play small. We don't take risks. We don't play to win. We play not to lose. And it is a losing game. And what women end up doing is losing, because you quit your job, or you don't continue to move up the ladder, or you take a job that's lesser of what you're really capable of, or you compromise and take such a crappy job that's not really stimulating for you, but it works with, your family and your lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. So women are trapping ourselves with this. This is key. So as long as you're playing not to lose, you're not taking enough risks, you're not opening yourself up to be vulnerable and authentic and really speak up and say the things you need to say. You're not pushing back and creating the boundaries that are intelligent, not the ones that are going to implode your career, for God's sakes. And you're just not playing to win. You're playing in this small state. What do I want to say? Like this protected state. And believe me, guys, I did it for a long time, and I thought I was the biggest badass that walked the earth. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm Kate, look at me go. And I was like, all that in a bag of tricks. So it really is playing small. And it wasn't until I finally did crash and, left my career and said, my God, like, this is insane. I can't this is not fun, that I was able to get that distance and then start going, okay, how do I go back to that career? And how do I go back to that level of responsibility, that level of intellectual engagement, that challenge that I love, that paycheck, quite frankly, that I love or more, that lifestyle that I love, the people that I love working with, but not be killing myself every single day? How do I do that and play to win? How do I do that and just be comfortable and like what I do and feel confident that I've done what I need to do for the day? And that's what we teach our clients, right? Which is like, give me any environment, I don't care how toxic, whatever. We can show you how to do that, because it's all steeped in your human behavior. It starts with you and how you've been wired, in your mindset and your beliefs and your psychology. And then it extends into starting to understand how to behave differently, but get the same, if not better, effect. And then it extends to, now how do you start influencing others? Got to change myself first. Got to change how I think, how I behave, and then I can start influencing others. Boom, boom, boom. Does that make sense? Okay. So myth number 5, good girl syndrome. Stop believing that myth, sisters. You got to start playing to win. Stop playing not to lose. Start understanding what your job truly is. Your job is not to be a good girl. Your job is to influence how the work gets done and lead your company, your team, your division, your department to the goal line. That's what it is. It's leadership, right? That's what it is. And it's in leadership. Where does leadership start? With you. And we'll talk about that maybe tomorrow. Cool. So thanks, guys, for coming for today's broadcast. I hope you got a lot of notes, a lot of good stuff. If you'd like to see more of our training, click on one of the links on any of our social channels. We've got additional free training that goes into more depth. It's about 40 to 45 minutes if you register for it. If you can't watch it at that time, just come back and I think we send you a replay. You can watch it in your jammies, whatever, later. So yeah, that's a good one to watch as well, because you can get even more in-depth information about everything I'm talking about. It's been great talking to you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.